Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. The Sejm is considering a draft amendment to the law on the Supreme Court. Law and Justice submitted the bill to the Sejm on the 13th of December and last night a parliamentary committee recommended approval of the amendment. It is expected to meet a key milestone for the European Commission to unlock the National Reconstruction Plan funds. Last night, the Justice Committee decided to recommend amendments to the Supreme Court law proposed by the government. The committee's approval was not given to amendments submitted by opposition deputies. We submitted them during the committee's work last night, and we will also submit them in the second reading, because we want to adopt a good law, one that, first, will unlock funds from the European Union, and second, will guarantee the judiciary's independence. Yesterday, Justice Minister and Prosecutor General Zbigniew Ziobro announced that Solidarity Poland will not support the bill, as it considers it blackmail by the European Commission. According to the position of the Minister of Justice, who had nothing to do with the creation of this law, unfortunately, the law was written outside the walls of the Constitutional Minister of Justice. This law, which was created in cooperation with the Eurocrats, is unconstitutional. Whether it is constitutional may be determined by the Constitutional Court. According to the draft amendment to the law, disciplinary and immunity cases of judges will no longer go to the Chamber of Professional Responsibility of the Supreme Court, but will be decided by the Supreme Administrative Court. In the amendments, the opposition requested that the Supreme Court's criminal chamber handle the judges' cases. There is no agreement on this. The decision that was adopted after long talks with the European Commission was accepted as meeting milestones. To do otherwise could be perceived as questioning this arrangement. During committee deliberations, Law and Justice tabled one amendment. Here it is about those disciplinary proceedings that will have been validly terminated so that appeals can be made to the Supreme Administrative Court. Under the transitional provisions, this amendment was accepted by the committee. The draft amendment also includes an expansion of the test of a judge's independence and impartiality. If the bill enters into force, the test could be initiated not only by the party to the proceedings, but also ex officio by the court itself.
Sędziowie mają być niezależni.
Judges are supposed to be independent when they sit in the courtroom in a robe and with an eagle on their chest and rule on behalf of Poland, according to their conscience, based on the totality of the laws and respect for the Constitution and the will of the people as expressed in the laws in force. If the milestones are met, Poland will receive a total of more than 30 billion euros in the form of non-refundable grants and low-interest loans. Russian forces are trying to break through Ukrainian defensive lines in the Bakhmut and Soledar region, where the heaviest fighting along the front is taking place. Meanwhile, Russia has changed the commander-in-chief of its troops in the continuing war in Ukraine. General Valery Gerasimov has been appointed head of the joint group of Russian forces. Initially, the Russians directed a significant force towards Bakhmut. However, the city successfully repelled successive attacks. Therefore, the Russians attempted to capture Soledar, located 10 kilometers north of Bakhmut. The Russians succeeded in seizing a large part of the city. The terrorist state and its propagandists will try to pretend that the seizure of part of our Soledar, a city that was almost completely destroyed by the occupiers, is somehow an achievement for Russia, presenting it in such a way as to support mobilization and give hope to those who support the aggression. But the struggle continues. Some of the heaviest fighting is currently taking place in eastern Ukraine. Russia's capture of Soledar would threaten to cut off the defenders of Bakhmut from supplies. Despite the difficulties, Ukrainians are constantly fighting. The enemy is suffering high losses, unsuccessfully trying to break through our defensive lines to capture Soledar. The city is strewn with the bodies of Putin's soldiers. The Russians are moving over their own dead bodies. The Russian Ministry of Defense has officially announced General Valery Gerasimov as the commander of the Combined Forces Group and appointed 3 deputies. His predecessor, General Sergei Surovikin, had only held the post since last October. Russia has mobilized 300,000 men so far. Half of them have been redeployed to the region of the continuing fighting. The rest may be used to try to break the front line in another section. According to NATO command, Russia is preparing for a long war with a possible attack from within Belarus in order to cut Ukraine off from Western supplies. It is thanks to the systemic flow of support from the West that Ukraine can take the fight to the Russian Federation, which, despite defeats on the front lines, still has significant mobilization capabilities. President Andrzej Duda concluded his visit to Lviv with a meeting of the Lublin Triangle, comprising Poland, Lithuania and Ukraine. The president also met Poles and visited Lyczakiv Cemetery. Poland will transfer a company of Leopard tanks to Ukraine. Finland and Denmark have already declared their readiness to transfer German-made tanks to Ukraine.
Jeżeli takich kompanii będzie więcej,
If there are more such companies, there will be a brigade combat group or an even larger military unit, which will actually be of great military importance in the defense of Ukraine. And this is what we want to achieve, so that these weapons, to NATO standards, will be in the hands of the Ukrainian army.
znalazła się w rękach armii ukraińskiej.
In addition to the humanitarian and military support going to Ukraine, NATO is strengthening the alliance's eastern flank. More than 1,200 pieces of military equipment, including US M1 Abrams tanks and Bradley fighting vehicles, were unloaded yesterday at the Dutch port of Vlissingen. It will be transported by land to Lithuania and Poland. Yesterday, mayors from 4 European capitals visited Kiev to discuss providing assistance. Kiev Mayor Vitaly Klitschko greeted Warsaw Mayor Rafał Trzaskowski, Bratislava Mayor Mateusz Walo, Prague Mayor Zdenek Hryb and Budapest Mayor.
Just in our hometown, more than 600 buildings destroyed.
Gergely Karaszczany before proceeding to discuss assistance to the Ukrainian capital and the country amid the 10th months of Russia's full-scale invasion. After the initial meeting, all 5 mayors travelled to see heavily damaged residential sites in the centre of Kiev.
Kiev, misto hero. It's very important for us. And we wanted to say that, and we always say that our friends in Ukraine are fighting for our freedom. And this is really important for us, and that's why we are here to help as much as we can. And we will keep on helping whatever our friends here in Kiev and in Ukraine need. We are always your friends.
During his visit, Trzaskowski expressed his gratitude and support to the Ukrainian capital. An enormous printer weighing more than 12 tons is creating what is believed to be the first 3D printed 2-story home in the United States.
On this suburban street in Houston, Texas, a new multi-story home is taking shape. But this is not your average building. Layers of concrete are laid down by an enormous 3D printer, weighing more than 12 tons, and it's creating what is believed to be the first 3D printed 2-story home in the United States. Constructing the 4,000-square-foot home will take a total of 330 hours of printing. That's according to architect Leslie Locke, co-founder of design studio Hannah.
In the designing of this house, we not only think about the general floor plans and usage, but we also design the actual print path, like how the printer will print, where it starts and where it stops.
The project is a 2-year collaboration by Hannah, Perry 3D Construction, and CIVE, a construction engineering company. Leslie Locke says since the printer does all the heavy lifting, fewer workers are needed at the construction site.
It is a much faster construction process, and it also requires, only 4 to 5 people, crew on site to print a whole house. And so you can see that on site we have currently 5 people. One of the benefits is also it takes a lot of the heavy lifting, the labor out of the human, and where the printer is doing the heavy lifting.
The 3-bedroom house will feature a hybrid design of wood framing and concrete. Concrete can withstand the hurricanes, heavy storms, and other severe weather in Texas that is becoming more frequent and severe due to climate change.
So basically this works very similar to the small plastic desktop 3D printers with 2 major differences. The first one is the size, of course. This printer can be expanded and contracted to print whatever project size you need to achieve. And second is the material. We are printing here with concrete, which is a completely different material than plastic.
The house is expected to be completed in the second half of 2023. Builders hope the innovative technique can one day help more quickly and cheaply build multi-family homes.
The design logic and layout and structure system of this building can be readily scalable and applicable for multifamily housing. And we really see that this can be the direction that we can really leverage 3D printing in that respect.
That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business and more stories. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.